Okay, so I'm upset this morning, and I decided I'm just gonna get on here, vent it into the world, and then let it go. I just. It's one of the old conversations I've had. I've had it multiple times with multiple people over the years. This just is such a typical conversation that I'm having, though, where you've got this guy who doesn't know jack shit about anything, who repeatedly and constantly is going on and on about how healthcare is so good when it comes to the United States, right? And how the corporations that provide us healthcare somehow are better for us than a government controlled organization. Now, I understand that this has been a misconception that has been out there for longer than I've been alive. And that's a fucking long time. Alright? So I'm not expecting this to suddenly change overnight. I really am not. Because there's just no way for it to change overnight. It just won't do it. And I can tell you why it won't do it. It's because of this perpetual attitude people have about socialized programs. And it's kind of funny that they do have this attitude because we already have socialized programs. They exist. They 100% exist. But people are very selective when they talk about socialized programs. They talk about the socialized concept of medicine like it's going to be toxin, there's going to be a death panel, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, there's going to be a lot of bad things from it. But no one talks about how the sheer concept of something like unemployment payments, or food stamps, or Social Security, how these are socialist programs. How a pure 100% capitalist society would not have these programs. It would be you either make your money or make your way, or you die trying. That's it. That's what capitalism is for. Now, I'm not going to say we should switch to communism. As Winston Churchill said, capitalism and democracy. I believe it was democracy. Actually, said democracy is not the best form of government, but it's the best we've got so far. It's not, it has flaws. Democracy has flaws. Capitalism has flaws, but they've worked out better than any other system. Let's face it. And that's because a lot of these socialist countries, a lot of these communist countries, they aren't really going by the standard of what communism and socialism is supposed to be. It becomes a very much about nepotism and very much about passing that power on to your relatives, to your allies, and not really looking out for the people you're supposed to be looking out for. And unfortunately, that's human nature. That is human nature. And I would love to say we're going to get rid of that. We're all going to be selfless and do what's right and good for everyone. But even I know if push came to shove, me and mine are getting over. We're going to find our way to get what we need and get it from wherever we need to get it from, no matter what it takes. Because that's the human spirit. The fact that you're going to desire to go out there and get and obtain wealth, food, shelter, anything that will help you survive. That's the whole point, because we are survivalist creatures. Just like any other animal. We're not just going to lay down and wait for someone to feed us. If we get hungry enough, we'll go out and we'll find something to eat, no matter if we take it from someone else or not. So that's humanity. That's humanity. There's no changing that. There's no getting away from that. There's no removing that from the human condition. However, we also are a tribal and communal type society, and that's how we grew as a people. So the concept that we cannot extend that communal nature and be able to have nationalized healthcare in every country on the planet and recognize that health is a right of every citizen on planet Earth. If we cannot do that, then we're going to be doomed as a people. We're going to be blown away by the people that are actually healthier and smarter and more adept at survival than we are. And that's being seen. Like, the innovations are coming from outside of our country. The biggest innovations are coming from outside of our country. Our education continues to slip down more and more. We are watching the destruction of our infrastructure all around us. And yes, you're going to say it's because of the government. Right, you're right. It's because of the government. So why are we going to trust them with our healthcare, you'll say? All right, so sure, they're incompetent in infighting. All right. And they all try and get theirs for their independent states. That's fine. So who do you trust with your healthcare? The corporations? You're trusting insurance companies whose primary goal is to take as much money from you as possible and give back as little to you as possible. To fight you on every claim, to fight you on every single penny they spend towards you to keep you healthy. You're going to trust them with your life? You're going to trust the hospitals run by corporations whose sole goal, if they see you have insurance, is to charge you as much as they possibly can get away with, to screw as much money from the insurance companies to pay off all those people that don't pay their bills or who have to pay with cash and don't pay the full amount. So they can pay high-priced, high-salaried doctors and nurses, primarily doctors, of course, that are getting these huge amounts of money being thrown at them to become mega wealthy, more wealthy than you'll ever be. They're driving cars you'll never drive. They're taking vacations you'll never have because they're getting lots and lots of money. And again, that I can go even further. I can say the education system, the college education system sets this up as an expectation. You go to medical school for 6, 8, 10 years, depending on what you're going for. And you rack up tons of bills and you have to pay those off. And so you get in that cycle of, I need lots of money to pay this off. So now I'm a doctor, I'm going to continue earning lots of money. I'm not going to have a higher lifestyle than everyone else, and I'm going to need this higher lifestyle because I feel I deserve it after I've worked so hard. And so you have this cycle of constant debt and repayment from everyone. And it keeps you locked in the system, is locked in this stress that you can't afford to go to the doctor. Doctor can't afford you to not go to the doctor. He wants you there. He wants you there every week. You know? He wants to get that paycheck. He wants to get that dollar bill. And so then if he doesn't get enough money, well, then he'll go to the farmer. He'll go to the big pharma and be like, sure, I'll take that extra money. I'll take that extra trip you give me. I'll take the extra stuff you give me. And then he'll prescribe things that you don't need so that he gets more money. That's the thing. When you start monetizing the health of people, you're treating them as a commodity, right? To be traded on by all these people that are not looking for your best interest. They're looking out for themselves because, as I said, humans by nature are survivalists and they're going to get what they want. So if you put someone in a position of power that they can get what they want and they can do so as often as they want, like big pharma, like insurance companies, like hospitals, they're going to do exactly that. They're going to up the prices when they can. They're going to not give everyone the same cost, right? Because a bandage at hospital A and a bandage at hospital B are still made of the same bandage material. They still are. But hospital A will charge you, say, $10 for that bandage, and hospital B will charge you $300. If you don't believe me, they actually did these studies back in the days when we had real journalism. NBC actually did real journalism. I know, it's weird that Daylight and NBC ever existed, but they did actually do real journalism, and they went to different hospitals in the New York City area, and they saw blocks apart in the same districts vast different amounts of billing on every service. And that's because they're charging based on what they can get away with. They're charging on what they can get from you. They're a corporation. They're looking for profit. They want money, right? They want profit. They don't care if you can't pay. They'll put you in collections. And when they put you in the collections, they forget about it. They write that off. And then that becomes a tax break for them down the road. When I was talking to this person on Twitter, I pointed out that Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, just of Illinois, that serves 5 states in 2018, made $4.1 billion. Billion, with a B, not an M, not $1 million. $1 billion profit. Now, you're telling me that these poor, unfortunate corporations that are making multi-billion-dollar profits cannot provide adequate health care for 5 states? Because I can tell you, I'm on Blue Cross and Blue Shield right now. And I can tell you, I can't go to the doctor. You want to know why I can't go to the doctor? Because every visit I go ahead and buy up and go off and go and pay for is coming out of my pocket. No copay from them until I hit about $2,500. That's the new higher risk plans. You're probably saying, Pock, why aren't you on a different plan? Well, that's the catch. You see, thanks to Obamacare, everyone's mandated to have health care. And maybe we'll blame Obama for that. It was the government in general. Because again, the government is currently bowing to the wrong people. It bows to the lobbyists. It bows to the people that pay them money on the back end, or give their kids jobs, or give them jobs. Or from industries they actually came from, like Ajit Pai. You know, they bow to these other masters. They bow to these other people that rule over them. And so the healthcare bill was not penned by any single politician. It was penned by the lobbyists and handed to them. They were told what conditions that had to be in there, otherwise they're not getting their donation this year. That's what they've done. They've taken control of our government. And you can vote these people out, and you should vote these people out. You should look at their voting records and see who are the ones that rejected the initial bill for Obamacare and actually forced it into this constant cycle of being rewritten by healthcare providers in order for them to make more money. And you should definitely be looking at that. You should definitely be more involved in your politics to get rid of these politicians. But we'll go further. We'll go back to the mandation of the mandated healthcare plans, because they're mandated and there's no structure to that mandate, right? They just have to provide healthcare. There's no set cap or ceiling for raises of fees. There's no set cap for deductibles. There's none of this. That was all left in their hands. And so they've invented this new kind of insurance, which isn't insurance. It's insurance that, in essence, is quote-unquote cheaper for a company or for an individual, but the reality is you're simply paying to not pay the government that fee. It's a ransom from the corporations. It's basically saying, you need this, you can't go without it, well, here you go, you gotta pay us now. And this is the care you get. We'll give you a quote-unquote discount on your care, which of course, the reality of that is that there's somebody making them pay, they're saying we're not gonna pay out as much, you know? So what we're going to do is we're going to negotiate these slightly lower prices, slightly lower that you're going to be paying, so that it also affects your deductible, because now they can look at studies and say, well, look, no one's using up their deductible. You obviously don't need that. And they can use this as a selling point to their investors and to the people that buy these plans. So you might again say, why am I not on another plan? Well, because this is through my work at a vast discount. I looked on the open market. In the state that I live in, to get actual full deductible care was nearly 3 times the monthly rate I was paying. And I'm not paying a small amount, mind you. I'm paying hundreds of dollars a month for this insurance. And I looked up what the fee would be eventually, the penalty, And it's a vast sum from Obamacare. So I'm screwed either way. I can get rid of my insurance and then pay the IRS for absolutely nothing, or I can pay my insurance and get maybe some care if I'm really desperate. So that's the reality we're living in now. And this is better than when we didn't have Obamacare? And is it better than, let's say, nationalized healthcare? This fool says, hey, I would say go live somewhere where there's nationalized healthcare, but that would be against Twitter's terms for encouraging self-harm. Please, bozo. Please. I lived in Canada. I actually had gallbladder surgery in Canada. And I'm fine. I paid $50 for one ER trip because I took an ambulance, and they do charge you for an ambulance if you technically could have gotten there under your own power. I technically could have taken a taxi. Technically. On the first time that I went. The second time I did get driven to the hospital. So, yeah, I could have found another way of getting there outside of an ambulance because I wasn't incapacitated. If I was incapacitated in a way that I could not have gotten myself to the hospital, or I was in an urgent situation like I was bleeding or needed emergency care, I would have paid $0 for that ambulance. It's just a fee to stop people from abusing the ambulance service and abusing 911. That's all it is. It's a discouragement. And I'm going to tell you, through my entire time, 15 years in Canada, multiple trips to the clinic, aside from medication, which was all also fee regulated. So I never paid more than, say, I think the most I paid for any medication up there was maybe $10, $15, because I had an insurance plan for my medicine, which was actually an insurance plan. You know, it actually covered this because they would do nationalized healthcare on medicines, but Big Pharma is the one that controls most of the patents and most of the medications you get. So they're the ones that set the prices, and most of those are located in where? Oh yeah, the United States. Right. So the United States, because they don't regulate healthcare, don't have nationalized healthcare, and let insurance companies and hospitals and Big Pharma set the prices for everything, they essentially hurt everybody. Because we get the medicine from a few controlled sources. We get equipment from a few controlled sources. And the fact that hospitals pay doctors very well lures doctors from other countries to come to practice in America to make a lot of money off the dumb Americans who have for years believed the lie that all socialism is bad, all communist ideas are bad. And again, as I said, I was treated for 15 years. I may have paid, I don't know, maybe about $500, $600 in 15 years of living in Canada for my health care. And I mean, I had influenza A there and got treated for it. I had my gallbladder problems. I had multiple checkups on my knees. I had my sinuses checked out for issues. I had a lot of stuff done. I went to the doctor quite frequently when I first got there, getting myself healthy again. It's amazing. Like, I've been here for about 5-ish years, and I can already feel like I don't feel as healthy as I did when I lived in Canada. And you might say, oh, why don't you just go back then? Why don't you go back? I actually would, if not for the fact that my wife has her family here, and we have kids that I don't want to rip off from their family. Trust me though, every month that goes by, I honestly think more and more, if I can save up a little bit of money, I'll go there. And that's the other catch. You see, about 4-ish years ago, I dislocated my knee. My left kneecap went fully to the side of my knee. Right? To this day, it is 4 years later, to this day, I have not been out of debt. Not been out of debt once. I'll tell you why. I was completely clear when I came here out of debt. I had no debts coming into the United States. It's because they changed my insurance the year that happened, from an actual deductible to this high-risk plan. And I burned through all the pre-recommendations. I mean, I was up to the point where they were actually start paying some of my healthcare, not all, some of my healthcare. By the time that my knee was done being checked out, to the point where I was going to need physical therapy, which I never did, because I was told it would have been about $100 or so a week to go in for my knee. And I would have had to pay a good portion of that. And I was already over $2,000 in debt from my knee. That's the reality of healthcare. That's the reality of the healthcare we have today. That's the reality of healthcare between Canada and the United States. In Canada, I had a gallbladder operation. I spent a week in a hospital bed. I paid $50 for my care total. That was 2 hospital trips. One hospital trip that was, I spent overnight, had morphine, was taken care of because they weren't sure what was wrong with me, and the pain passed, so we didn't know I had gallstones at that point in time. And when they came back, they did some more testing. Yep, gallstones. Finally got the diagnosis, and spent a week in the hospital. Got surgery, got my recovery done, and I'm fine. It worked fine. It worked perfectly. My job didn't fire me. I was not at risk for my job firing me because there's rules in Canada against that. I mean, here in the United States, there's sneaky ways they can get rid of you even if you're on health leave. And you have to sue them. You have to actively sue them to get back anything. You see, we've been taught that socialized medicine is evil because it's communist. And communism is evil. Trust me, I'm a baby of that era. I know how that was so drilled into me, that all these socialist programs are so evil and so wrong. But you have vacation time. You have family leave time. You have the ability to have a union. You have Social Security. You have unemployment insurance. All these things are socialist ideas. You see, we don't talk about them being that way because we've been taught that's not right. That these are just programs. And look, they're not even working anyways. The government's screwing up. They're screwing everything up. Because you really want the government to have a death panel over you to really judge if you can have treatment? That's what we've always said. That's the boogeyman that's raised. The reality is that's not how anything works. That's not how any of this works. The reality is you are a sucker. You've been sold the biggest lie of your life. You've been told this is wrong, you should not do it, by people who are directly profiting by you believing that lie. I don't understand how this is a hard concept for people to understand. You are being lied to actively by corporations that tell you that they are right, that this is how it's supposed to be, that innovation is only done through capitalism. Yet they're not going to tell you about all the drugs they don't research because they can't patent them. Google a few things. There was a doctor in Canada searching for a way to have a cancer cure researched off of a basic drug that is open to the public that has no way of being patented, and no one would pay him research. It may not have worked, it may have gone nowhere, it may be a complete bunk science, but he couldn't get research dollars even to try and see if it was going to work. He had promising results in lab rats, but he needed broader studies. He needed to be more sure of this before he went to human trials, and then he'd need money for human trials. No one wanted to pay him because they couldn't make money off that drug. How is that? How is turning down the ability to cure some cancers with a common drug that everyone could easily afford? How is that not innovation? How is that not innovation? It is. But it's not profit. And that's the big lie you've been sold. That capitalism will bring you health and wealth. That's the biggest lie you can ever be told. Because the wealthy are getting more and more wealthy. And are you? No. The wealthy are healthier than ever. Are you? No. And that's because they don't want you to have these things. Because it's going to cost them a little bit of their money. They want that bigger and bigger profit margin. So they want you to stupidly defend their ability to have that profit margin, to say that socialized medicine will risk your life and your health and your welfare, that going to a country with nationalized healthcare is akin to self-harm, like this idiot said to me. Sorry, buddy, I was healthy in those 15 years than the rest of my life on either side. I'm telling you that right now. I was healthier then. My blood pressure was lower. My stress levels were lower. I was in a happier place as far as my health went. Because I always knew if I had problems, I could go and get well. I knew that when I got well, my job would still be there because it was illegal to terminate me even if I go past my sick days. Because I lived in a country that valued human life over profit. That's not true here in the United States. That is not true here where you live. You're so brave and proud and free. You're free to die. You're free to be broke. You're free to be in debt. You're free to fear every day of your life that you might get in an accident, you might have an injury, you might not be able to pay your next bill because you're laid up, you can't get work. You've been dropped from your social insurance, you've been dropped from everything because you've been out of work too long, because you've been hurt too long, because you can't afford to get back and be healthy, because you can't afford the health care you need. You need to beg at free clinics. You need to beg for medicine. You need to go to Canada to get your medicine. You need to go to Mexico to get your medicine. Brave and proud and free Americans running to another country because you can't afford to live in this one. Stop being idiots. Stop believing the lie. This is not the truth. Socialized medicine would make your life better. It would regulate big corporations, break them up, turn them into, once again, societal beneficial companies. It would not be about profit. It would not be about the next big dividend for investors. It would be about finding cures for diseases. It would be about finding ways to save money by curing diseases. Not to perpetuate people's illnesses to make recurring profits on their sickness. It wouldn't be about doctors being given kickbacks to give you medicine you don't need in order to test it on you, in order to make profit on you for their research. In reality, they're not doing a ton of research. In reality, they're sending people down to Las Vegas to have massive conventions, renting out massive amounts of hotel rooms and big ballrooms. These are not poor, downtrodden people. They're the richest industry in America, and they have a gun to your head telling you that you should be happy that gun is there. Don't be so goddamn stupid.